Hello and welcome to PubShorts 109th episodes, 109 episodes down, and we are calling it Disorder. We are inspired by a particular song and a particular band, but Tony will talk more about it. My name is Dr. KK, and I'm the Innovation Officer at Inago. And Tony, who are you, and why are we calling this episode so?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony. Welcome to PubShorts, which is this. We talk about stories relating to the world of academic research and academic publishing, and we like to give episodes a theme and a title named after a song. And this week's episode is named after the rather disturbing little song, great song, but rather disturbing little song called "Disorder" by Joy Division, who, in case you don't know them, were the precursors to New Order from 1979. The song's restless energy, good Lord, restless energy, that describes Ian Curtis, the lead singer's restless energy, incredible restless energy, and a sense of unease. That you basically described Ian Curtis. His restless energy and sense of unease is Ian Curtis, poor man, God bless him. And it captures the mood of today's AI stories, where technology races ahead, rules blur, and we're all trying to keep pace with machines that we've created. So
Wow.
yes, there's a real sense of disorder.
I think this can be
And
the
it's
theme.
probably the best song. It's one of the best songs on Unknown Pleasures, by the way. But that's just me.
Yep, and this can also be the theme of all PubShorts episodes. I think we talk a lot
Well,
about
actually,
it.
you know what? There's
Yeah.
another song on that album which probably fit in season just as well. It's called She's Out of Control, which it's not quite there yet, but
Noted. Note.
let's keep a washing brief.
All right. So moving on to the first story, we are talking about AI because technology is the theme, and this disorder is what it's creating. So we are talking about a disorder created by artificial intelligence that we need to find fixes for. In terms of researchers using generative AI to create, let's say, manuscript research outputs, and how should they disclose? And this flew under the radar big time for me, and I was not aware of this research paper. It came out in May of this year, and it's titled Reporting Guideline for the Use of Generative AI Intelligence in Medical Research. And the entire thing is initialized into something nice, gamer statement. So what is it? So it's first of all, it's published in BMJ Evidence-Based Medicine. So that itself is something that we all should be aware of. It provides, Tony, a universal and standardized guideline for using generative AI tools in medical research. And it was developed using the International Delphi study involving experts in medicine and AI. So I'm going to scroll down as I read my notes. And it included a scoping review, 2 Delphi rounds and virtual meetings, and 51 experts from 26 countries participated, and the final checklist has 9 reporting items covering things like tool specifications, prompting techniques, and data privacy. And the whole idea behind such a research and such a statement is to address the current inconsistencies in reporting generative AI use, or GAI use, across journals and institutions. And the gamer guideline is meant to be widely adopted not just in medicine, across the spectrum, by authors, reviewers, and editors. So I'll pause here and ask you, what do you think? I mean, we've talked about similar things. We have the kangaroo, we have the guided declaration generator, we have so many, the STM Association classifying, and this, I guess, predates some of them, at least from a point of view. And it's a
How old?
gamer's view.
How old's the paper?
It is May 2025. I think it was
Okay, so
submitted.
it doesn't predate it by very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the good thing for me is that this is showing that the industry appreciates the importance of standards.
Mm-hmm.
Standards and interoperability within that research sort of communication process. There has to be standards. There have to be rules. There have to be sort of structures in place for us to be able to take that research and use that research and feel confident that that research is valid, it's honest, it's and moving the science forward. And I think I welcome standards. I suppose my concern is if too many standards float to the top, which one is going to be is going to take lead. I don't know yet, but there has to be some kind of there has to be this sort of thinking taking place.
Yep. I agree. I mean, I understand, but at the same time, the lack of any frameworks and any statements is also a problem. So I guess eventually the best I guess this framework or statements will win, and this is one such statement, and we covered pretty much all the others. So this is a checklist which is presented as table one in the manuscript. So did the researcher use any GAI tools? What tools they used? Describe any prompting techniques, and if they developed a new GAI tool, which could be within, for example, Chat GPT, then you have to provide descriptions regarding this and role of the AI and which part of the manuscript was worked on. That
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
specific section. Describe how very important, describe how the content generated by GAI or generative AI was verified by the authors. Very important. It's part of the disclosure and privacy and confidentiality and all the other any other use of GAI tool. So I think it's excellent, and this is very much in line with the core principle of the responsible AI movement that Inago is championing in terms of
I mean,
yeah.
so, okay, so something I'd like to see, I don't know the answer to this, is
Mm.
it's a question or comment rather than to really me making a statement, is how are these sort of guidelines, how are these measures being
Validated.
translated into things like funding agency requirements? What are funding agencies asking
Mm-hmm.
researchers to do? What are the rules, if any, that the funding agencies are putting in place to say, okay, if you're going to use AI as part of your research, or there's an expectation that you will be using AI as part of your research,
Mm-hmm.
here is the expectation of the funding agency. Is there any? Are there any sort of limitations? I don't know. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I don't think there is any, but I that's a valid point, and I guess the industry is still sort of getting hold of the AI. You know, it's been what 3 years, and we actually covering a story. It's been 3 years since ChatGPT came into our lives, and
Yeah.
so we're covering a story. So I think it will also come, but in the sense people will start thinking about it. But this, if suppose you haven't seen the guided statement or related statements, including the recommendations by the STM Association in terms of AI
Oh, yeah,
use
yeah,
and
yeah.
disclosure, this is a
Yeah.
very good place to start because all these questions are need to be answered by you, the researcher.
The STM guidelines are fantastic. And if the research funders were to adopt those guidelines in terms of how they're making their decisions, then great.
Yeah,
I don't know that the comments I make is I don't know
yeah.
is what are the funding agencies saying, what's their framework.
Right. So what I was hinting at, Tony, is that a responsible AI movement, which we're championing, the Inago brand
Yeah.
is championing, is basically to educate the authors in terms of what they should be aware of while they're using generative
Yes,
AI tools.
yes.
And this is exactly these 9 questions. If any researcher who's watching this or will eventually watch this, if you have used a generative AI tool in your research output creation process, it is your responsibility to go through this checklist and make sure that you answer all of these questions. There are 2 reasons for it. One, you may need to provide a disclosure statement regarding this. That's so you need all the information. But most importantly, you have to explain how this has been verified by you, the author themselves. And if suppose you do not have the capability of doing that, if you need assistance, you need to have to seek help from somebody who can do it for you. And this is something that everybody needs to be aware of. And we are very passionate about spreading this information in the regions that we have clients coming from, which is basically Japan, South Korea, and China. So that's the thing that I thought was very sort of it resonated with me, that aspect of it, while I looked at the study. Do you also
Yeah.
agree with me, Tony?
No, transparency has got to be everything.
Yeah.
Transparency and honesty is really what it comes down to.
Right. So please, whoever is watching, it could be a researcher who's watching or somebody from a publisher. So there are publisher related aspects that we are discussing. The guidelines are inconsistent. There is no sort of transparency regarding what should be disclosed if suppose GAI was used. For example, do you need the prompts? As a publisher, do you want researchers to submit the prompts or any further details on the AI tools that they use? Do you want them to report it according to the paragraph of the section? So these are things that everybody
I
needs to
suppose,
standardize. Yeah.
yeah, as agentics of networks become more commonplace, I suppose there is going to be an increasing need to be able to interrogate the prompts. Just to make sure that the logic that's been
Yep.
used to generate the result is correct. Yeah, that's really, I've not considered that.
Yep. Yep. All right. So we started with a sort of a call to the research community in terms of what they should do if they use AI. Now, there's another sort of aspect to it. So this is a NPJ Digital Medicine article which is titled "Beyond Human Ears: Navigating the Uncharted Risks of AI Scribes in Clinical Practice." So we are already talking about. We have covered this. AI is being used in many clinical medical applications, and some of this is to sort of transcribe the interactions that the doctor has, the physician has with the patients, and this is exactly what we are talking about. So AI scribes are becoming really popular in doctors' offices. They promise to make charting easier to help with the doctor, doctors, tasks and everything, and prevent burnout. And early signs, Tony, show that they can make things more efficient. But the article, the whole point of this paper is that there are some concerns. It warns that we are adopting them faster than we can understand them, or we can factually verify the accuracy of the outputs. And without more careful checking, using such scribes could mean or could put patients at risk and mess with the quality of care that is given to the patients, because all the sort of physicians recommendations regarding a management of a patient comes after this. And so human scribes are great, but obviously not scalable. So we need to sort of have a balance between AI scribes and humans sort of needing to validate. So this is a problem. If you put an AI in a solution, does that increase the workload of the human that is eventually?
Yeah, and my question here, and this goes back to sort of medical teaching. I've never had any medical training, so I'm not speaking from you have.
Yeah.
From first-hand experience. Is how many of these doctors have actually been trained in the use of having a third-party scribe? Surely the whole point about sort of diagnosis and prognosis is you're talking to the patient, you're writing down the symptoms, you're thinking about the possible implications of those symptoms, and you're using your brain to then diagnose an outcome. If you've got a scribe to do that, how does that affect the thinking process of the doctor? I'm not saying it does. I'm just wondering, if you went to medical school 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you're not being trained in using these third-party tools.
Yeah.
So how are you using those tools, and how are you making sure that the patient is being managed in the best possible way?
Right. And it is very clear. So I obviously was taught like 3 decades ago, and
Yeah,
we did not have AI scribes or whatever then.
of
But
course.
even then, what I was aware of is that at least in India, where I was taught, you would not have the luxury of somebody else transcribing things for you. And obviously, that's an entire.
I've never been to a doctor's surgery and had somebody sit next to the doctor and make notes while I'm talking to the doctor.
Yeah.
That may happen after the events,
Yeah.
but certainly not in a real time environment.
Yeah, it could also be that the recordings of the conversations were sent to somebody, which is obviously a big business in itself. And so
Yeah,
that who does it is what we are primarily talking about. And this in
yeah,
this case, you
okay.
cannot just directly get an AI to transcribe it, and that cannot be used. So that it is basically a warning in terms of you can also sort of extrapolate it to other AI use cases where we have been. Tony, you and I agree. At least I'm clear on this that for many of the applications, especially in scholarly communication, you cannot just put an AI and get away with it. You need humans to oversee the outputs, and that is what.
Guardrails are essential.
Yeah. So that is where we are. So we have covered sort of two aspects of AI integration in medicine, and the next one, interestingly, is also related to AI use, but this time it's about behavioral challenges for AI use. So people are more likely to cheat when they use AI. It's from the Scientific American, and the dishonesty that AI seems to encourage is the topic of the paper. So research shows that people are more likely to cheat when they are delegating tasks to AI, and this tendency, Tony, is especially strong when users can indirectly prompt the AI to break the rules through goal setting rather than explicit instruction. So you cannot explicit, I mean, you do not, if you're trying to cheat, do not explicitly ask AI to sort of do the wrong thing. And this type of dishonesty is significantly increased when participants delegated tasks to AI. So even AI models with built-in ethical guardrails showed a strong tendency to comply with dishonest requests, and attempts to curb AI cheating using company provided ethical statements had minimal effects. And so this is a wonderful sort of chart to sort of wrap your head around. And the most effective, though not scalable method is to prevent AI cheating was specific task-based instructions prohibiting it. So for each task, you need to sort of specifically have a system instruction telling the AI that it cannot cheat. That's the only way to prevent it, because human beings are very good at getting around these things. And I think that anybody who's using AI must be aware of the fact that it actually sort of it can make you want to do dishonest work, and you should be aware of it, especially in the context of research. So
And it's not the AI that's cheating; it's the
yeah.
human writing the query that's cheating. So, what kind of controls can you put in place to ensure that dishonest behaviour is
Yeah.
not taking place? And it's unfortunately it's human nature. People will try and find shortcuts, or
Yeah.
people will try and find a cheat to get ahead.
Yeah, and one example of the task-specific instruction would be something like, you are not, as in you in the sense AI, you are not permitted to misreport income under any circumstances. So you can sort of manipulate your way into eventually doing something to let the AI generate it. And there are many examples. If you want to see how you can go around and create something that the AI would not be supposed to create, you can do that. But this is very interesting, and so we all have to be aware of how this could be influencing our own behavior in terms of encouraging dishonesty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is, here's an example of another reason why a paper may get retracted at some point in the future if the actions of the researcher is found to be openly dishonest.
Right. All right. Moving on to a couple of articles from the Scholarly Kitchen. The first one is the guest post title: Have you proved you're human today? And open content and web harvesting in the AI era. So this offers a perspective in terms of AI web harvesting bots that have big problems for websites with a lot of content. And these bots are different from old school web crawlers, and these take a lot of resources and do not follow the old rules. And libraries have benefited from traditional tools, but traditional bots for years for search engines and archives, so that content becomes more discoverable. But Tony, AI bots are more numerous and have different motives, and they often ignore the robots.txt file, which is where you tell a crawler that you're not supposed to crawl it. I mean, that's how Google and all the crawlers can be controlled. If you have a website and if you don't want it to be crawled, that's how you can do it. But AI bots seem to overcome this sort of a barrier and eventually can slow down sites for real users and mimic denial of service attacks, DDoS attacks. And libraries, Tony, are particularly vulnerable because they have lots of unique open tagged content. These crawls are also technologically, in terms of resource consumption, expensive. So there are a lot of negatives around it. So there's a challenge in terms of how to prevent it, and this has been brought out beautifully in this article. And I wanted your perspectives primarily regarding libraries, especially institutional libraries, where this problem might be very difficult to overcome because they may not have funding for the sufficient protection to prevent such AI bots from crawling. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I had a conversation with somebody about this yesterday, about the importance of research security, and the changing role, the ever evolving role of the library within their institution. What role should the library perform to support the researchers, to support the research that's taking place within their institution? And he was saying it's very, very clear. Increasingly, there's this expectation that the library is the kind of the information services front end for the entire university, for every aspect of what the university does. But there isn't the funding to support it. So if there's an expectation that the library has to ensure that bots aren't being used in this way, in the way you described, how is that going to be funded? How is that going to be managed? Who's going to be buying those kind of resources? And if it's down to the library to support them directly, what's going to suffer as a result?
Right.
They're already seeing huge budget cuts as a result of policies that's happening in various parts of the world. And you're seeing libraries closing, you're seeing libraries massively reducing their content licenses. How do they possibly start to manage to fund these things as well without new money being made available? That's my main concern about this.
Yeah, so there are several potential strategies, but these are all these will restrict the accessibility from a. Let's talk about libraries and let's say research related content or books and everything. If suppose you put any of these are probably going to lead to decreased accessibility, and that's not what libraries are meant for. They meant to provide information, not to hurt.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
about curating
yeah,
and supporting research.
and hence there needs to be some sort of a solution for this, because don't you think about this, if suppose these AI bots are causing library system to shut down, and so where
Yeah.
are they leading the user to? Back to the original places that they came from, which is basically an AI. So the whole point of AI needing to source legitimate content, let's say behind libraries, I mean in the sense in library corpuses, it gets defeated. So the readership in libraries will further decrease if suppose we don't have a solution for it. And that's a big concern. We already have generative searches as the first things that people see, and I myself have fallen sort of, I guess, prey to this temptation of sort of finishing my legitimate search journey at the AI's overview on Google. So this is a concern, especially for scholarly communications, because we need people, researchers, authors to actually be able to access all the content in libraries, because they're curated, as you rightly said, and this might prevent it. So a very sort of big concern in terms of AI bots. Well,
Interesting. And until I read this article, I hadn't really considered it as being a problem. Of course, why should libraries be exempt from the sort of AI sort of bot attacks that we're seeing in other parts of the world,
yeah,
in
and
other industries?
knowledge as a service, it's a concept that I hadn't heard, but it is mentioned in this wonderful article. And I mean, scholarly kitchen continues to educate me every day, and I strongly recommend everybody
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I completely agree with you. It's one of the best sources for where we are, the state of the art in scholarly communication.
Right. I promised two articles. The second one is also a guest post, The Economics of AI in Academic Research. Heavy topics. So it is written by John Frechette, who's an CEO of Moara.io. And the author, John, believes the most misunderstood issue with AI in academic research is how it will reshape the economics of research. So AI tools reduce the time researchers spend finding and understanding papers effectively, lowering the price of research and increasing the demand. Very interesting concept. I think I've talked about it on LinkedIn or something. So studies show AI augmented researchers publish more and get cited more, but there are signs of narrowing research diversity because of what we can do with AI. And AI could thus benefit non-native English speakers, early career researchers, and those outside academia the most. And AI can help scholars engage with research outside of the fields, potentially increasing reference list sizes. We already have a problem with
Well,
reference lists running over thousands these days. And so AI can improve synthesis of research insights. So AI can do a lot, but the concern is that AI might harm learning by reducing the cognitive effort
yeah,
of reading full papers. I mean,
and,
guilty
and
as
something
charged. Yeah.
something that came up again during the Frankfurt Book Fair. I think we spoke about the Frankfurt Book Fair in the last episode of PubShorts. I was there recently. Was how AI increasingly is being used in the gamification of content. So, for example, things like citation stacking. How have you ever heard of a concept called white fonting?
Yeah. Yes. It's part of
Yeah,
the attacks, prompt engineering, prompt injection attacks. Yes.
I absolutely hadn't even sort of crossed my mind. I was talking to a very large publisher about this, and they have their own preprint archive.
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying that one of the biggest problems that they have is white fonting. Is the fact that an AI will generate a paper that looks like a perfectly good paper that no one's detected that it's an AI generated paper, and that the references are in white
Mm-hmm.
on a white background. So the actual the reader, the checker, doesn't see them, but of
Yep.
course the machine does.
Yep.
And it then creates all these false citations.
Yeah. So
as a result.
what you're talking about is citation manipulation through white fonting. So you can use white fonts.
Yeah.
Anybody, like a human reading with their pair of eyes, or a PDF reader, the classical PDF scanned reader, would miss all of this, and it will.
Yeah.
So that is actually a benefit. In fact, if suppose you're using non-text parsing solutions, because text parsing solutions would pick these up. So
Yeah, well, exactly. And,
yeah.
and if you want to make sure that your false references to your
Yeah.
predatory journal
Yeah.
is included in the references, then
Yeah,
here's a way of doing it.
this is citation injection. I don't know if there's a term like that, but anyway, this prompt injection is also like this, but it can be in various ways,
Yeah, just
tiny
all
forms.
the whole process of citation stacking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so
So anyway, I digress.
no, no, this is perfect. This is perfect. So there are concerns regarding this, and the whole the whether the learner or the reader is cognitively non-challenged or not challenged enough for them to retain is a challenge, and the whole final argument of John is that he encourages embracing change and guiding AI's integration into research purposefully and responsibly. And again, the unification of all these things that we are talking about is the responsible integration of
Yeah,
AI
yeah,
into these
yeah, yeah,
systems. And we
yeah.
all need to talk about it. And that's the reason why we are talking about it on PubShorts. And I'm sure,
Yeah.
Tony, you'll agree to the fact that we, in conversation with publishers also, this must have come up.
Oh, it's in every conversation.
Yeah,
It's about it's again this whole thing about research security and integrity. It's in every conversation that you have. At the end of the day, one of the things that defines the publisher, and I think I can't think of a publisher that would disagree with this, is their brand, it's their reputation, it's the integrity of the content that they publish.
right.
And if they find that there is anything at all which will undermine that core value, then it's a threat. So yes, it's absolutely core to what they do.
All right. We've got something from Ian Mulvaney's blog, Where I Am with AI Now, Genies, Bottles, and Capex. So it's a complex post. But Ian basically confesses his positive bias.
Is it capex?
Capex, maybe. So Ian confesses that he has a strong positive bias towards AI, especially generative AI and LLMs,
Yeah,
because he
right, yeah.
finds them fascinating and uses them frequently. And he believes these technologies will fundamentally change how knowledge, especially academic papers, are created, impacting the industry and everything like that. So he mentioned that publishers should license their content. He is also pro licensing of content, because if AI needs to source something, it has to be legitimate content, which is often behind firewalls or paywalls. And scholarly publishers can clean data and read to minimizing bias in these AI models, etc. And he also acknowledges the significant potential for disruption in the knowledge ecosystem because of all of this. So this is all prelude to what his main tenets are. I think I can scroll to that. Yeah, this is a part where he talks about still the 6 things to bear in mind. What LLMs know, what they can do, how they are in terms of what how they're made, and who is paying, and what we need. I think these are the things that he's talking about. And I thought these questions are really profound, in the sense that for every AI application that you can think of, you probably need to think about this as well, especially the who is paying and what we need out of it. And I found, again, this is it's a nice segue to the previous conversation in terms of the concerns in terms of irresponsible use of AI integration. So I leave you with this thought. What do you think? Is Ian right? And do you have any
Oh,
further points?
he's absolutely right. And what he's doing is he's translating the concepts of product management into the world of AI.
Yep.
What triggers a new product? Is it a need that's defined in the marketplace? Is it the need to just boost your profits and try and gouge the market? No, he's absolutely right. If you're doing this properly, you're doing this effectively, you have to think about the market that you're addressing, who they are, what they want, what are they prepared to pay for,
Yeah.
and are you producing tools that will then support that?
Yep. And I think there's another scholarly kitchen post, but this is not a guest post. The next one is 3 years after the launch of ChatGPT. Do we know where this is heading? So this is written by Phil Jones, and so we have moved from 23 years since ChatGPT. So we have moved from just experimenting with AI to actually integrating into things like writing, novelty, seeking and research, discovery and whatnot, summarization. While things are getting more and more efficient, we are still unsure about the long-term effects on how research is created and being judged. And so some of the concerns are also things like copyright, inaccurate information, hallucinations, and confabulations. I think that's the right term that I should have that was introduced to me in at the peer review congress, and the potential for low quality content. We are all aware of these perils, but the fear Phil argues, should not stop for us from innovating, but we also need to manage the risks with things like
Yeah,
AI guardrails and models, like, for example, AI technology like RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And the key question is whether the actual usage of AI match the massive effort and cost that went into developing these large language models. So now that's a question that the AI companies also are involved in answering. And there's a growing area for AI in scholarly peer review. We have already talked about it, and the future might see agents, AI agents, replacing traditional interfaces, potentially changing how research is done and published, maybe even leading to agentic publications as well. And there is a
yeah.
related conversation that happened around the time this article came out from one of your favorite chefs, Hong Zhu, who was talking about whether researchers and readers are going to interface not with the paper, but with the AI agent. So these are some profound questions. And where are things heading? This is a question that I'm left with. And what do you think?
Um, Phil's great. I've known Phil from not necessarily person, but I've known Phil as a speaker for many years,
Mm-hmm.
and he's deeply knowledgeable. He understands his space, and he asks the right questions. There are a number of people whose opinion I would always want to seek out, and he's one of them certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Gosh, who knows where is this going? It's evolved so quickly. I couldn't even start. I would never have guessed even a year ago we are where we are today. That every conversation I have is filled with literate AI experience and people who want to know, see where their organizations are going, but don't necessarily know, beyond a certain horizon what's going to happen.
Right.
And how it's going to change their business. We know it's transforming workflows. We know it's transforming the way research is taking place. We know it's affecting how research is being generated and communicated. Yeah, in a sense, it's not that we're in the Wild West, but you do get the sense sometimes that it could be, the fastest gun will win.
Mm-hmm.
Or the quickest draw will get to will be the successful one. So it's really, really interesting to see how this is all. It's just evolving so fast.
Interesting shooting from the hip references from there, Tony.
Indeed, yeah, indeed.
All right. So talking about AI and
Well, I mean, let me ask you the question, KK. I mean, where do you think it's going to go? Where do you think it's heading?
I think very much into the era of us, humanity, and the society interfacing with everything through a layer of AI and whatever it might be. And I think you might have kept up with the news, Tony. We can interface to Spotify, for example. You can ask ChatGPT to sort of curate a playlist and put it on your Spotify if you wanted to.
I hadn't seen that. No, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, it's just, I think, last year. And also payments can be now made through ChatGPT, an example. And this is
Right.
not with ChatGPT, it's also with Gemini. And so things are evolving. And I think, Google is a good example. Once upon a time, we did not have smartphones and we needed to go to a library or ask somebody who actually knows more to find an answer. And then we all stopped doing that and we started Googling, and Googling became a thing. Everybody does that. Now we are the next such sort of crucial sort of transition where we are probably going to be not think twice. Everybody will start doing everything through AI. So that's where we are heading. The problem with doing that in academia is what we have discussed in this episode. Now we've if suppose that is going to happen, we need to have credibility in the sort of AI interfaces that researchers will interact with and also readers will interact with in terms of research consumption. So this is all a concern. I
Well,
think
that's what you kind of the researchers absorbing content.
Mhm.
That's the role of the library. The role of the library is to provide the content which the researcher can absorb. Yes or no? If you're an academic researcher, you're not necessarily going to have the funds available to buy your license to Science Direct or to the Wiley Online Library, whatever it might be. Your library will do that. What is the role of the library going to be moving forward? If the author is able to directly engage with an AI like ChatGPT or Gemini or similar to obtain the answers that they need, and who's going to pay for that?
well,
And how are publishers being recompensed for that
well,
moving forward?
what I this is a conversation that we should have like an hour dedicated to it. And so
Yeah,
the short answer is you're right in terms of the ChatGPT being the interface, but the interface also involves seeking the right information, and that right information in the sense it has to be tagged information, and obviously there are model protocols and everything. The whole idea, if you remember, we discussed in the last episode, the open data sharing, data curation, and the right sort of data to be presented to the AI, which is, I think, if I'm not Frontiers, if I'm not mistaken, or Plus, one of the two publishers are leading this. So that sort of a
Exactly.
thing at the library level needs to happen, and that's the thing. Libraries will still remain, as in they would be an integral part of the system, but the libraries need to sort of expose their content in a meaningful manner, and the AI vendors need to sort of adapt to this exposure, and eventually this will lead to, let's say, rich contextual accurate information being surfaced to everyone. So that's a future, that's a maybe the ideal future, the utopian future. But
Yeah, well, I asked this question to somebody at the Frankfurt Book Fair recently. I said to them, if you were opening a new university, would you have a library building?
and the answer was,
No.
oh my.
In
Okay.
their in their in their opinion, they didn't feel there was a role for they feel there's a role for library services,
Hmm.
but a physical building. Well, why? When as long as you've got networks that will provide access to that information, why do you need the library building?
Well, I don't know what to say, Tony.
No,
Libraries.
anyway, that's a topic for another
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. Okay. I mean, it's a disappointing thought, but at the same time, it is a reality. But anyway, so we have talked a lot unexpectedly for this article, but that's good. This is the type of discussion we ought to
Well,
have.
no, this article is exactly why the PubShorts exists. It's
Yeah.
to try and set the scene for where our industry is going.
Yeah. All right. So this is unusual, but I found this. Wait, I have to go to the right LinkedIn post. Let me just get back to it. The post that I'm searching for is here. I hope I. Yeah, I think it is coming up. So we are talking about deep agents, Tony. So we've talked about AI agents for a few months, if not for a year now. And so, what are deep agents, you might ask? So these are obviously deeper than whatever we have been used to. So let me get to my notes to ensure that yeah. So the this can be referred to as Agent 2.0, as it's there, and this is a good graphic to sort of understand what is happening. Deep agents can plan across longer horizons or long horizons, coordinate sub tasks, and create lasting artifacts. Last artifacts are basically, intermediary outputs. If suppose you use Claude, you will be familiar with the concept artifact, and the key features include detailed system prompts, planning tools, sub agents, and a file system for memory. And memory is very important if suppose you're designing. And it's a wonderful uh, sort of rundown of how to create a very smart system using deep agents for any research related purpose. And the most important thing, I mean, most sort of fascinating thing is that a planning tool as simple as a to-do list can help in orchestrating the such deep agentic systems to do their job really well. And I mean, these are simple things, Tony, but AI really likes things to be ordered. And it needs to have a sort of a simple, like human beings, if you want to have a organized life, you need a to-do list. And AI systems with deep agents also require it, and eventually you get really good outputs. And we just talked about why we need deep agentic systems. I mean, in the sense, the whole idea is that the AI is more reliable and trustworthy. That's exactly what we want in the future, where humans are, or researchers or readers are going to interact with let's say research through the layer of AI. So
So how
what
would you use a deep? How would you use a deep agent, KK?
if a good example would be to do literature review, for example. And I would create a deep network to sort of validate and factor, because you can the classical agentic system may not be able to do the iterative thing that humans instinctively do, and by doing creating a checklist and creating details for it, you would probably get very high quality results. And I want to actually, honestly, Tony, I want to build such systems. And well, we might talk about it later on in this episode. And so I'm excited about it. I would you be interested in making such systems yourself?
Um, Pass. No. Yes. Yes. I'd be interested to see systems being used.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be building them myself.
All right. All right. All right. Now, finally, we can go to quick hits, and unfortunately, they also cover a lot of AI. So let's start with the first one. Let me just close this. And okay, the first one is a ChatGPT or OpenAI announcements introducing apps in ChatGPT and the new apps software development kit. So this is what I just recently mentioned, Tony, and I thought we should cover it because things are going to change really fast. So these apps are designed to integrate seamlessly into conversations, and users can discover apps by ChatGPT suggesting them or by calling them by name. So you can add maybe Spotify or add whatever. I guess you can also order food and everything right now if suppose you have the right app integrated to it. So the apps respond to natural language queries, which is very important. You don't have to codify, and also have interactive interfaces. And apps aim to help users create, learn, and do more. I mean, this is obviously OpenAI saying it. But we are sort of into the future where this AI interfacing, the universal thing that everybody does is it. So we already have initial pilot partners from Booking.com. Tony, you might need to book your next maybe SSP annual conference tickets on ChatGPT.
I'm a regular Booking.com user.
Yeah, and Canva, Coursera, and others. So Coursera, another sort of I'm getting all these little breadcrumbs eventually leading to whatever we're going to talk about later on in the episode. So, what do you think? I mean, the future is here, Tony. It has always been here.
The future is here. I suppose what I struggle to understand is how it's any different from the sort of the kind of co-pilot features that exist on the likes of Gemini now, where you can plan trips, you can engage in a natural sort of language kind of way with the LLM.
Yeah, I know the difference. So you can, for example, if you ask ChatGPT to plan a trip right now, it'll give you a plan. But if you ask the new ChatGPT to give you a plan and book the trip, it will be able to do it. I mean, that is basically the
okay. So it's that's a, yeah. So it has So it's a deeper sort of commercial role. Yeah. Okay.
All right, moving on to another related story. Gemini 2.5 computer use model enters preview with strong web and Android performance. So I'm not going to read my notes, but I'm going to explain to you what this is. This is a good. This basically is a pair of computer eyes that will look at your screen and be able to enable you to interact with it, with the understanding that Gemini can see what you're seeing. So for example, you can hypothetically, this is a calendar, you can say enter something in the specialist field or things like that. So this is the new future, Tony. So again, ChatGPT with apps and Gemini with this new computer use mode, things are moving really fast. So this is, I think it's not available to everyone, and we will. I haven't explored it. I think you need a pro subscription to have it, and you need a vision model as well. What do you think, Tony? I remember, I think I asked you a few episodes ago when we talked about Copilot whether you would be using Copilot extensively with this sort of an application. Copilot can see what you're doing on the screen. And I don't remember your answer, but I'm going to pose a question again. So are you going to just talk to your computer and write an email?
I mean, I'm already engaging with my computer in a different way than I was even a year ago. The way I'm sort of querying Gemini or whatever is very different from what I used to do. And also sort of the information I'm getting out of it is so much more directly useful as well. I'm not sure what I feel about that kind of almost biological relationship then with the computer, that it's actually tracking my eyeballs in terms of where it is on the screen and trying to predict what it is I want. I think I'd like to see it in practice first before I comment.
Yeah. Okay. And Amazon would not be too far behind, right? Because we are talking.
Well, no, it makes absolute sense. If you're looking at a picture of a book, then rather than clicking a button, little boxes are coming. Oh, you're looking at this one. I have these other books on 20th century rock music.
Right. But we are talking about another Amazon thing. Amazon takes shots at ChatGPT with Quick Suite, your new AI teammate at work. So this is intended primarily for businesses who are integrating AI systems and agentic systems and workflows. So it is designed for helping employees in businesses to find information quickly and more reliably. And it's called the AI teammate. And it can go beyond what a current tool like ChatGPT can do at work. And we are talking not of the regular ChatGPTs for ChatGPT for enterprise. So it is beyond that. The goal is to make the things simpler for knowledge workers to access and use data scattered across different applications. So it's like a central hub. Again, thematically, it connects to the long conversation that we had with the Scholarly Kitchen post. And users can again ask questions and get connected answers from different disparate information sources. So we got OpenAI, we got Gemini, and we got Amazon doing the sort of similar things to sort of integrate AI in a sort of deep and meaningful way.
But
So
isn't this kind of like just an extended chat?
I,
It's an extended bot.
it is, but it is more deeply integrated into your system. That's a. I mean, I just we
It's bot with access to some data.
and information and other applications, and it is built
Yeah.
into the infrastructure. So if you're using Amazon Web Services, AWS, then you would be able to access it, is what I'm gleaning. And
It makes sense. You can see how businesses are going to go this way in terms of making better use and sharing resources more openly and actively. I suppose the issues there around control in terms of who sees what data. But yes, I can see how this could benefit.
Right. So, Tony, earlier in the episode, we talked about the need for researchers to verify and fact check the stuff that AI generates, right? Now,
Yeah, yeah,
you are aware that AI hallucinates. And if suppose you want to compare the different results of the same query, same prompt from three different AIs, you would now have to sort of do it manually. But there is something that you can use right now. It's called 3AI. It came to my attention through one of our colleagues. So you can enter any questions here, and you have some free questions. I think 334 is what I started with, and it will ask the same question to ChatGPT, Grok, and Gemini. So we'll ask, when did ChatGPT enter our lives, right? And I'm going to ask it, and it will generate the answers, and it'll display all the three answers so you can compare. I think there are future integrations as well. I think it's also um, the freely available one has ChatGPT, Grok, and Gemini. So these are the comparisons that it gives you. So these are the individual responses, and you are able to sort of look at them and make sure that everything is accurate. So ChatGPT says November, but Grok and Gemini said November 30. And so this is a very simple question, but if you are asking a more complex question which needs factual accuracy, this is a good place at least to know that this sort of variation is what you can expect. What do you think of it?
no, it's a really simple way of describing the benefit of an agentic network.
Mm,
You know that you can interrogate multiple LLMs at once and see the different results. I suppose the useful thing there is that kind of the assimilation of that data in terms of producing a summary that will sort of distill the true essence of the result.
right. All right, coming to the last couple of stories in quick hits. The first one is from Research Information, and it actually gives a little more information regarding the mysterious Wiley AI platform. So we talked about it, I think, a few episodes ago. So Wiley has launched this new thing called Wiley AI Gateway, and this platform is designed to be interoperable, connecting scholarly content with AI tools. Sounds like we just discussed this in the last 5 stories. It allows researchers to access content from publishers directly through AI platforms like Claude, Anthropic's Claude, AWS, Amazon Web Services Marketplace, Mistra's AI's Lay Chat, and Perplexity. And Wiley states that this is the first AI native, remember AI native, research intelligence platform in the industry, and it uses technology to convert content into AI optimized formats, similar to what we discussed vis-a-vis Frontiers, if I'm not mistaken, while maintaining accuracy and citation integrity. So your thoughts on it? Already partners like Sage and American Society of Microbiology are lining up to be a part of this. Wiley has led AI, in my opinion, in the publishing
Yeah,
realm.
I, I was I was going to say exactly that.
Yeah.
What Wiley have done over the last, I won't just say in the last year, the last 10 years, is almost re-engineer themselves as being the sort of leader in kind of research
Mm-hmm.
technology, research tech. They're not just a publisher anymore. They're much more like Elsevier in a sense as well. Very similar in terms of producing decision support material. Widely producing platforms which researchers can use. I think, and I was talking to a Wiley person at a conference recently about this, and some of the projects, some of the really interesting projects that they're doing with things like pharmaceutical companies or medical organizations, and how they're using the combination of AI, Wiley's AI systems and content data to produce these really unique solutions. Absolutely fantastic.
Right. And finally, Tony, the last thing that I would like to talk about is literally the future, I think, because next week we have the conference that we talked about where AI writes, reviews everything in a conference, the Agents for Science conference, and it is happening next week. and we discussed it a few episodes ago, and I wanted to bring it to your attention again, because we talked about all of this. I think it sort of has reached a sort of I think deserving conclusion. This entire narrative for this episode, this is what is happening in the in the research field, and if I'm fascinated to know what's going to happen here, and the people from Stanford are behind it, and Nature has a story behind it. AI bots wrote and reviewed all the papers at this conference. It's about to happen, and I cannot wait. So maybe I'm concerned. Maybe you are too. Are you concerned for this?
No, I am concerned. I mean, look, these are computer scientists writing about the state of computer science. So it's not surprising, and in fact, we should welcome these sorts of experiments, these sorts of ideas. And there is absolutely a clear place for the use of AI in things like conference proceedings content or preprint content, for example, which doesn't go through the traditional peer review process, but still requires some kind of scientific rigor to take place. So, but my concern, as I think you've highlighted, is where are the guardrails? Who's making sure that those reviews are accurate, they're sound, they're safe, that they reflect where the science should be going.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 109, probably one of the longest episodes that we recorded because of the conversation that we had around AI. There are so many conversations to be had, but again, we had to have it, and as you rightly said, this is why we have PubShorts happening. Anyway, so Tony, people who want to listen to our usually 25-minute episodes, where can they find all the 108 episodes so far?
Well, if you've got 3 or 4 days spare, which is what you need to listen to all 108 previous episodes, you just need to go to our to YouTube and go to the Inago playlist, PubShorts playlist, and you'll see all previous episodes. I encourage you to press like if you like, if you enjoyed this content, or share this content with your colleagues. And if you've got any ideas for future episodes, comments, suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. And we'll make sure we try and bring those into future episodes.
Well, that does bring us to the end of this episode, and we thank the team behind who helps us put this content. And also, I thank Tony for being patient.
Can I just make sure I'm talking to a human being and not an AI?
Well, my batteries will get replaced soon. Then I can show you.
Show me the battery cable. The power cable. Sorry, the battery cable.
Yeah. So when I replace it, if I can have an active cognition happening, I'll give you a call. Okay, and that'll be automated through ChatGPT. Bye for now, Tony. See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.